Say, we can do more than just treat backs. Chiropractic can help your whole body, and your children's bodies too. Webster's treatment, you're seeing it here, focuses on making an adjustment in the child's spine. He just pushes on the bones. This, he says, gets rid of something called vertebral subluxation, bones out of alignment in the spine that chiropractors claim press on nerves. Getting rid of these subluxations, he says, restores the child's nerve supply and allows messages to flow freely from the brain. This is supposed to allow the body to heal itself.
Did you make an adjustment?
Yes, I did. Mm-hmm.
So that little thing, that was it?
That was it.
The appointment costs about $25 and lasts just minutes. But Dr. Webster's customers are very satisfied. He and other chiropractors we watched have wonderful bedside manner. Dr. Webster plays with the kids and takes lots of time to explain things. Above all, his treatments are unthreatening. No shots, no antibiotics, no vaccinations, ever. It's all natural healing, say many chiropractors, and by treating vertebral subluxations, this natural healing can prevent ear infections, asthma, bedwetting, some say even cancer.
I think it's amazing, myself. I really do.
This mother says Webster helped her autistic child.
He wouldn't sit still, period. I mean, he would tear the things off the wall. And now, he'll sit in class. In class, teachers say, well, he sits in class.
For many, Webster's the only doctor they see.
Do you go to a pediatrician too?
I don't go to a pediatrician.
He does everything.
He does everything.
But your son then gets no vaccinations?
Not at all.
No antibiotics, ever?
Not needed.
I said, chiropractor for an ear infection?
This mother was skeptical at first.
I really was kind of leery when he did the little thing that he does to his ears, and he hasn't had an ear infection since.
It's all nonsense and scare tactics.
Dr. Murray Katz of Quebec is director of one of North America's biggest pediatric medical centers.
If this is such nonsense, why do patients get better?
Patients don't get better. People believe they're getting better. We know that ear infections can go away in 2 days. We know an asthma attack can stop acutely. We know that bedwetting, eventually people outgrow it.
Katz is just one of many medical doctors skeptical of chiropractic. But Katz is unusual in that he's taken the time to really study it. He's visited chiropractic colleges, sat in on courses. He even joined the Chiropractic Pediatric Association, which is headed by Dr. Webster. Katz and other MDs' conclusion, yes, spinal manipulation, like the treatment you're seeing here, can be useful in relieving some lower back pain. And there are studies in medical journals to support this. But as for relieving other symptoms and treating children, Katz and others say it's nonsense.
There are hundreds of millions of dollars being spent to treat 15 or 20 million children a year for subluxations, which none of them have.
Will you give me a smile, John? Yeah, that's great.
Dr. Webster's been called the grandfather of chiropractic pediatrics. But today it's a hot business, and lots of chiropractors are doing what Webster does. Today there are companies that teach chiropractors how to build their practice. Make $1 million in 24 months. I guess then you can buy this boat. Another tells you how to treat patients for a lifetime. $100 buys you a tape that'll convince parents to bring their kids in. Many pediatric chiropractors were inspired by the baby adjusters, Palmer and Jennifer Pete. They run a business teaching others how to open a practice, how to promote it with things like free T-shirts. And they teach courses for chiropractors, talking about things like ear infections, colds, asthma. The Pete's ideas are quoted in chiropractic manuals.
Chiropractic works and medical procedures usually fail.
In some cases, that's true, and I don't think that you will get people to argue with that too much.
Usually fail?
From the histories of literally thousands of children that we've taken when we've checked them in our office, many of them have come to us as medical failures.
And you can help these children more than a conventional doctor could?
If they have a vertebral subluxation, I'm the only kind of doctor that can help them.
And how many people have subluxations?
About 95% of children have vertebral subluxations.
They say 95% of children have them. They don't?
They don't. They have an ulterior motive for saying it. It's a growth industry. In order to find something to treat, they must find everybody's little bones out of place starting right after birth.
you doctors are just protecting your turf so you can make more money.
It's not a fight between doctors and chiropractors. It's a fight between science and superstition. It's a fight between science and a belief system.
The pediatric chiropractors say they have science behind them, the science of subluxations. This is the crux of the dispute. Many medical doctors say what the chiropractors call subluxations don't even exist, that everyone has tiny variations in their spines, and these have no effect on our health. The doctors also say that if you show chiropractors the same x-rays, they can't even agree on where the subluxations are. Chiropractors like the Pedes say research shows they can pick out the same subluxations. You can pick up subluxations on these x-rays?
Absolutely.
And
Really?
it's 0.97%. That's very high.
Well, let me ask you to do one then. I'll do a few.
I can't. I don't have a view box.
Yeah, we don't have the equipment.
Sorry, we're not set up yet.
Also, we don't have the time because we have to...
Well, if we leave them with you, or...
Well, it would depend on what kind of x-rays it were. Let me look
And the
at
quality
them.
of the x-rays.
The quality of the x-ray and... This is not a very good x-ray. Who took these? And that one, you can't analyze that.
If you can't read these x-rays, can we take some of your x-rays and take them to other chiropractors and see if they see the same thing?
Yes.
But when we later tried to do that experiment, the Pedes wouldn't give us the x-rays. They said we were running a circus.
Certainly medical...
He checks out just fine. Physically, he's okay.
We thought we'd learn more about this hot new business by running a real-life test. Blake has recurring ear infections. His pediatrician told his mother, Lori, that the ear infections can be treated with antibiotics, and eventually Blake will outgrow them.
Give me high fives. Yeah.
At our request, Lori then took Blake to 9 chiropractors. A 20/20 cameraman accompanied her, saying he was a friend. The friend carried a hidden camera. If pediatric chiropractic is a science, you'd think that the chiropractors would agree on what's wrong with Blake. Or perhaps they'd agree with the pediatrician and say Blake is healthy and needs no treatment. Did they? No. Every chiropractor found a problem, and for the most part, not the same problem. The first one says,
Blake has a misalignment between the second and the third bones in his neck.
this chiropractor found a different misalignment.
And it's on the right side of his neck between the first and second bone.
This doctor concluded that Blake's main problem is in his glands.
At least in terms of the reflexes that I'm testing, there is a weakness in the adrenal glands.
This chiropractor knows Blake has a subluxation because one of his legs is shorter than the other.
They're not even close to level. Now, see, this is off about it.
And so on. Although the chiropractors found different problems, they agreed on one thing. They could help. And by the way, Blake's crying not because the chiropractors hurt him. Blake just doesn't like going to the doctor. Now, some of the techniques the chiropractors used were quite strange, such as second-hand examinations. This chiropractor says he'll diagnose Blake by pulling on Lori's arm while Lori touches Blake.
Just put your hand on the shoulder, your hand, that's fine. It's just as I push down your arm, then there's a problem, your arm's going to go weak, and that's going to give me information about what has to be done.
This chiropractor had Blake lie on top of Lori, and then he pulls Lori's legs.
Now, what we're doing right now is I'm testing her muscles for him, okay? And there's a combination of energy here. So let me show you. Hold this up again. All right, now this leg doesn't work too good, and this leg doesn't work too good, right? Huh?
Yeah.
Okay, now that means that there is a jamming of his occiput. That's the top bone in the... His what? The occiput, which is the backbone of his skull.
Uh-huh.
All right? Now,
By pushing down on her leg, you felt?
That's what it says.
Yeah.
Then he touches Blake's back, and presto, he says Blake is already better.
I just lifted the occiput, the backbone of the skull, with my thumbs, like this, and like that on the other side. And then we went back and tested the muscles, and they were strong. So there's something.
And that's Lori's muscles.
Well, yeah, but it's right now she's becoming him.
Blake needs treatment, he says. His bones don't work.
So they got to be fixed. But before we fix that, we have to line up certain other things. His immune system don't work.
And the doctor was worried about learning disabilities.
Learning disabilities?
Yes, which somebody in this family has.
Someone in where?
In your family.
How do you figure that?
Because I know.
You know that just from what?
This is what I do. And your eyes don't team too well, and neither does hers. So, I mean, the both of you, I think, has got a problem.
Of course, the cameraman wasn't even related to Blake. Why all the varying diagnoses? When we confronted the chiropractors, they told us the body is always changing. And some said these were just initial evaluations and more tests would be needed. In any case, all 9 chiropractors said they could help, though the treatment would be expensive because it could last anywhere from several weeks to a lifetime.
Well, you've seen the growing trend in chiropractors treating childhood illnesses, and sometimes it seems to work. But when is it dangerous? There are tragic cases that raise important...
Caretaker, his grandmother, for neglect because she didn't provide proper medical attention. She's been sentenced to 4 years in jail for involuntary manslaughter. The grand jury wanted Hoag investigated further, but the DA responsible decided not to prosecute. Hoag continues to offer chiropractic care to children.
I didn't see any indication he was starving to death. The last time he was in, he looked thin.
One more case. When Keith Farrow was a baby, he held his head at a tilt. His mother's chiropractor said, "I can help."
He just kept talking to us and finally talked us into it. You know, saying that he could fix that.
And he turned his head to the right, to the left, and back, and snapped. I mean, he popped, his neck popped, you know, and Keith started crying. I said, and he said, well, he'll calm down a little bit. It won't hurt very long.
The next day, he says, Keith went limp, so they took him back to the chiropractor.
He turned his head to right, left, snap. I said, well, look how limp he is. He said, he just looks like he's got a bad flu bug. He said, he'll be okay in a couple days.
Keith started running a fever. Then they took him to an emergency room. Eventually, a St. Louis hospital found Keith had a tumor that ran the length of his spinal cord. The doctors believe the chiropractor's adjustment aggravated the tumor, which then cut off the blood supply to Keith's spine. Today, Keith is paralyzed from the waist down. The chiropractor, James Kessinger of Cape Girardeau, Missouri, says Keith's problem stemmed from a drug he was given at the hospital.
So it's not because you adjusted his spine?
No, absolutely
The doctor said the tumor ruptured, and I would think you were...
He said it ruptured, but he had no proof of that.
In fact, Kessinger says if the Farrows had just brought Keith in earlier, proper adjustments might have taken pressure off Keith's brain stem, and the tumor might never have grown.
You don't feel you did anything wrong with Keith?
Oh, absolutely not.
He should have come to you sooner?
Absolutely.
The Farrows don't know what to believe. They're not convinced that the chiropractor caused Keith's problems. They even took Keith back to Dr. Kessinger in hopes more adjustments would relieve Keith's paralysis. They didn't. We thought we'd try another test, this time with a child who does have an ongoing problem. 5-year-old Cody Finello of La Crosse, Wisconsin, has chronic ear infection. Infection so severe, they're starting to give him hearing loss. Cody's medical doctors want to insert tubes in his ears to help the infection drain. But Cody's mother was nervous about surgery.
Then I got talking to my normal chiropractor, and he said he could do something better. And if I can find some other way to fix his ear problem, I'll do it.
ABC paid to have Cody examined by 8 chiropractors. Again, all 8 found a problem. But Cody's mom says it usually wasn't the same problem. This chiropractor said Cody has a pinched nerve in his neck. At this office, the chiropractor said Cody's left leg was shorter than his right. Here, the chiropractor said his right leg was shorter than his left. Chiropractic critic Dr. Katz says none of the diagnoses make sense.
Why couldn't an ear infection be caused by a pinched nerve?
If the nerve was being pinched, all the parts which that nerve supplies would then be affected. The child would have facial paralysis, the child might have swallowing problems, the child would have many, many other problems.
Anatomically impossible.
Anatomically impossible.
This chiropractor said the problem was nutritional. Cody was deficient in zinc. This doctor said food sensitivities are the problem.
These are the things that he was sensitive to. Stay away from corn, cow's milk, and white flour.
Okay.
He never even examined Cody's ears. When we asked these chiropractors why all the different diagnoses, some said leg lengths change. Some said they weren't varying diagnoses, just different techniques.
Stay away from corn, cow's milk, and white flour.
When we confronted this chiropractor, he said although he had talked about food, his main diagnosis was a subluxation in the top vertebrae. Chiropractor James Bowman said Cody didn't even have an ear problem. Instead, he said he has a disturbance in his nervous system.
The cause of that seems to be scoliosis, which is...
Scoliosis is a frightening diagnosis. It can be grossly deforming.
This is very persuasive. His spine is curved. If I were his mother, I'd worry.
Scoliosis is not any little curve in the spine, and it's not a condition which we see in that age group. It's almost unheard of. We've never seen a case. I think I've seen one case in 20 years.
His doctor says your diagnosis is ridiculous.
Well, you know, if he's not familiar with chiropractic, it would sound absurd, certainly.
And the radiologist, too, says this is totally normal.
I would disagree.
Of course, if you listen to what the Peets say, most children don't have normal spines. They have subluxations.
Subluxations, if left undetected and uncorrected, are life-threatening?
They certainly are.
They certainly are.
Someone might just drop dead. They're not treated.
That's correct.
That's correct.
Now is the time to tell your patients that subluxations are slowly killing their children.
That's true.
That's true.
You're scaring people for money.
Oh, no. Sometimes we don't even charge patients.
But you're running a business telling people to do more with kids. You're getting paid by other chiropractors for help in starting a business.
Is it scary for the Cancer Foundation to go out and warn women about having mammograms? That's not a scare tactic. That's an educational tactic. What parent wouldn't want their child to be able to have that kind of health care?
A parent who thought you were quacks.
Well, doctors of chiropractic attend chiropractic college for as long as medical doctors go to school.
Yet even some chiropractors are critical. The biggest chiropractic association says there's no evidence that subluxations are life-threatening and that comments like that are irresponsible. On the other hand, the association does claim they've had lots of success treating kids, and they say children with ear infections and other conditions should be evaluated by chiropractors. The association and other chiropractors we talked to said children should also be seen by a pediatrician. Some chiropractors were still more critical.
They are making all the chiropractic physicians, even the scientifically oriented ones that are trying to do a good job, look like absolute quacks.
Chuck Duvall heads the National Association for Chiropractic Medicine, which believes chiropractors should stick to trying to relieve back pain in adults.
Is there a lot of money in this?
Oh, there is so much money being ripped off. They want the patient to start from the day they're born on, forever.
I'd say maybe the average patient here is 50, 60 times, but over a period of time. And again,
is that covered by insurance?
Yes, yes.
You might be surprised to learn who's paying for all this. You are.
So the government pays for these treatments?
Oh, absolutely, and has for years. Medicaid and Medicare in most states cover for chiropractic, and it's not limited to the treatment of back pain.
There is no basis. They say they'll make the body work right so it can heal itself and prevent itself from getting sick.
It's a wonderful idea, but it's not ever been proven.
Might be true.
Might be true, and we might go downstairs and have lunch with Elvis.
So are you saying that they're making it up just to make money?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hugh, I should say I think that's a little strong. I think most are in it because they really believe it works.
Now, John, a year later, are any of these chiropractors still practicing?
Every single one you saw is still in business.
Now, I would tend to think that these chiropractors are not mainstream chiropractic, that they're more on a fringe.
That's true, and the American Chiropractic Association asked us to make it very clear that they're not mainstream and that the association finds what we showed you reprehensible. On the other hand, we had no trouble finding chiropractors who did this.
Yeah. Interesting. Thank you, John.